A very helpful site for you in terms of doing your research online is the Marvel database, which is like a main library database, and it is located at main.gov slash Marvel, kind of like the comic books, except not associated with them at all, but that'll help you with the spelling. So this brings you to their main page, and if you look over on the left, there's this link here that says Teen Resources. You can click this, and then right over here on the, still the left, but more to the right now, is the Student Research Center, and that is resources designed for adolescent people, so like teenagers. And there are all of these different categories, and so you can select which categories you would like to look for. You can look for all of them, but what might be most helpful is to look for just a few at a time, because that will narrow down the search results that you're looking at. So instead of combing through maybe 200 pieces of return, you can comb through maybe 25 or 30 at a time, which is much more reasonable. Also, some things like biographies might not be helpful for you. Radio and TV transcripts could be, but let's just say for now I'm going to look mostly for newspapers, magazines, and I'll do primary source documents. Books and encyclopedias. Encyclopedias can be helpful. The information just tends to be more general. Kind of like Wikipedia, the information on there is pretty reliable, but it's sometimes also general, so you can get more in-depth information from primary sources. So we'll leave primary source documents checked. Country reports, state and province reports, that might return something interesting for us, particularly those of you who are doing the picture of poverty in Maine. That could be very helpful. So full text is good, peer-reviewed is good. You can play around with these options though and see what you find. Publication, we don't need to limit it to a publication. Where's my general search bar? So find up here, if I was looking for, I'll just start with my main search term. I'm researching animal shelters. I can see what comes up with animal shelters. So there's a variety of search results, and then this is where the longer work takes place, because you have to start filtering what is good and what is not. Q&A, Paul and Victoria Schaefer from All Animals does not look like it would be interesting. Also something called Holiday Inn looks like it would not be very good. Sneaky Dog opened 2 doors in successful bid to escape from Humane Society. That sounds like a news article that is fun but not related to my search. Dogs that can drive. Fun, not related to my search. The cost of care, All Animals, that sounds good. So I'll open that in a new tab. Ranger Rick's Adventures. I think Ranger Rick is for younger audiences, so I remember that in elementary school classes. So some of these might not be helpful, but you can start looking. No-kill shelters, that's good. So this is the process. You go through, you look for things that sound like they'll help you, you open those up, look at them a little later, try to find things that are good. I talked about yesterday using search terms to, like using words from your sources to find new sources. And so no-kill shelters, that is something I'd heard about before. That means they don't euthanize any of the animals. They don't kill any of them. I hadn't thought of that in my search terms though, so I could now enter no-kill shelters or no-kill as a search term, and that might return some more results for me. So that's how you can widen your search field, is by finding helpful sources and then using language that they have in them in your future searches. So the other source that might be helpful to you is Google Scholar. And so we can go to Google, and usually any of the Google subsites, if you just type in the site you want, it'll be the first one. So Google Scholar is very handy. It is not a teen resource, it is just a world sort of resource. It has academic papers from all over, ones that are available online. Some of them you have to pay to have access to, but it can still be helpful to find other ones that are available for free. Or sometimes if you go down to the library and log on, and do your search. The library computers have paid subscriptions, and because, I don't know if it's the IP or whatnot, but because it's a library computer, you won't be asked to pay for the material or put behind a paywall. You'll be allowed access to the articles. So sometimes doing these things down in the library is helpful. So that'll make our computer time down there very helpful. But so Google Scholar uses all sorts of articles. I'm not going to include patents because I don't need patents on animal shelters. But here I'll just use my search term. I'll just type animal shelter and see what I come in with. And I have risk factors for relinquishment of dogs to an animal shelter. So that looks kind of neat. I can open that. You can open these in new tabs. I usually get a few tabs open and then I go and I actually look at the article to see if it's helpful. So I'll open up maybe 3 of these. Risk factors for relinquishment of cats to animal shelters. So relinquishment seems to be a word that animal shelters use. So I could type in animal shelter plus relinquishment and see if that comes up with any more search things. Plasma cortisol levels of dogs at a county animal shelter. That sounds a little bit more focused than I want, so I'm not going to open it. Behavior and cortisol levels of dogs in public animal shelters, and an exploration of the ability of these measures to predict problem behavior after adoption. That sounds really big, but problem behaviors after adoption sounds interesting. Adoption also is a pretty good word I could use. So I'm going to open that one and just see if I could use it. Determining factors for successful adoptions of dogs from an animal shelter. That looks pretty cool. One note to make, and we might not really stick to this as much with our research, but typically if you see right here, this paper says it was published in 1998, this one is 1995, this one is 2001. When you are at a university or if you're in a professional environment conducting research for a company, the general rule is that you do not use research that is older than 10 years unless it is foundational research. And foundational research is a paper that was really important and groundbreaking for its time. And some of those can have staying power so that, 10, 15 years later, people are still talking about them because they really set the trend for the papers over the next several years. However, and when I was in grad school, I used a paper that was, I think, closer to 20 years old. And it was a foundational piece, like it was one that everyone in the field was always talking about. But I cited it in a paper, and one of my professors said, really, this is 20 years old. Your field hasn't produced anything new. Like, there's got to be updated information on this. So, usually the rule is not older than 10 years. For us, I'm not going to really hold us to that, but if you find a paper that's 20 years old, especially if you're doing something that's like medical or like poverty in Maine, we want poverty in Maine now, not 20 years ago, or people that are researching Alzheimer's, we want information on Alzheimer's now, not Alzheimer's as we understood it 20 years ago, because these fields advance pretty quickly. So you can open a bunch of these. I'll just found 3, 4 on this first page. So I'm going to take a look at this and see if these look interesting. Households that relinquish dogs for adoption, case households, random sample of current dogs. So results. So this is looking at risk factors. So this looks like interesting. So I might look at this some more and I'll find the journal article. So I'll keep that one open. These are mostly medical ones, so these are pretty good. So I think these ones are ones that I would use. So what I would do is spend more time looking at them. But let's say I want to use this article. I need to find the full text. Abstract. Oh no, what? Full text not available. Where is it? So sometimes, if you can't get the full text, what you can do is you copy the title, and then let's open a new tab. So File, New Tab. I'm going to go to Google. And not Google Scholar, I'm just going to go to General Google. And now here is the article. This is an article preview. This is a PDF. That's characteristics So I'm looking for the full article. This might be it. Oh, is this the same site I was at before? Sometimes you can find a different copy that was uploaded to the internet. You have to search around a little bit, but it can be worth it if the paper is good. Risk factors. That's the abstract. Another trick that you can do if you're looking for a full article is just add .pdf to your search, because articles are often saved as PDFs, and sometimes you can find a PDF of that by searching like that. I'm not finding it. Sometimes that'll happen to you. It's sad, but then you just have to go back and pick out another article. This is why research takes time sometimes. But that's how to use Marvel and Google Scholar overall and how to kind of vet some of your sources.